Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cross Culture Critic. I'm Chris.
And I'm Joe!
Welcome to the show. Wow, that was animated.
Yeah, I felt like doing something different.
You were just singing and dancing a minute ago in the house, and you just seem in a good mood today.
I was trying to do like the sister act version of Oh Happy Day.
Nice. You know what's funny? I was in a store the other day. I think it was like CVS or something, and they were playing "I Will Follow Him," and I can only think of songs like that in the context of Sister Act now.
See, a lot of I don't want to say Catholic songs because they're not Catholic songs really, but a lot of like church hymns that weren't sung at my church growing up were in that movie. So the older I get when I hear them, "Oh Happy Day," the one that you just said, all that stuff, I only know that version.
Okay.
The same thing with the Sister Act version.
See, now whenever I hear "My Guy," I automatically think it's "My God." Like everything it has been warped through that. I actually contacted a podcast a few years ago. They were having this conversation about Avatar, which you've seen Avatar, right? Everyone's seen Avatar.
I wish I had.
Well, they were talking about how it's the most popular movie, like it's the most successful movie in the world, right? Made more money than any other movie. It has no pop culture footprint. You know what I mean?
Zero.
It's not like Star Wars where people are dressing up as the characters.
Right.
No one's quoting lines from Avatar. There's something in Walt Disney World, but that's just because Walt Disney likes money. And so I started thinking about it, like, you know what? Whenever I hear some of these songs, I think of Sister Act. And Sister Act had a sequel, and it spawned a Broadway show. And really, whenever you think of Whoopi Goldberg, that's the first movie you think of.
Yeah.
Sister Act has a larger pop culture footprint than Avatar.
Absolutely.
And I was very proud that they read that on the air. And,
you're so right. There is nothing about Avatar. Like I'm on Pinterest and I have like the folders and the stuff that comes up in my feed are like comic book cosplay, people that are doing like cosplay uniforms or costumes for Comic-Con conventions and different things like that, and like comic art. There's never been an Avatar.
No
painting, picture, drawing, costume. Like nobody.
No one's dressing up as a Na'vi, which I do remember that.
How did everybody get duped into going to see that?
Well, here's why. Well, okay, I will defend Avatar in the fact that I think seeing it on the big screen was incredible. So, like, I remember seeing it IMAX 3D, and that was one of the first big 3D releases. IMAX hadn't really come back yet at that point. That they weren't using it like they do now with every movie. So it was a big deal to go see that movie. So I think people went. You'd never seen special effects like that. The 3D was incredible.
So is that what it was? It was kind of the...
It was a spectacle.
Yeah, so yeah. It was a perfect storm of the first time a 3D Max or whatever movie, that equipment was really being used. So all that stuff that you just said, that I can't remember what you just said, but all that stuff that you just said, it was like the perfect storm. So someone was going to go take in like an experience, but the story and the movie ended up sucking.
Yeah, it was exactly like 10 other movies. It was basically the same plot as like John Carter and Dance with Wolves and things like that. Right. So I remember enjoying it. I have not seen it again. I know they're making like 4 sequels to it.
Seriously?
Yeah, he's filming like 4 or 5 sequels back to back right now.
Why?
I don't know.
Obviously.
Money, but James Cameron likes money, and I've learned you don't really bet against James Cameron, and I won't be surprised if he figures out a way to make them work, but... I'll
tell you right now, I'm not going to go see the next ones.
I will go see it out of curiosity, but I will also say I am not sitting here going, "Oh, I wonder what happened to that guy." Like I could never find out, and I would be perfectly happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I think the whole IMAX 3D thing, that was really cool. But then a few years later, I saw Gravity in theaters, which was the most amazing movie experience I had, and that totally erased that.
Was that with Sandra Bullock?
Yeah.
Okay, that was good.
And that was like a total IMAX 3D, just crazy. Like, you felt like you're flipping around. And
that is my main fears in life are kidney stones and hot air balloons. Neither one of those I ever want to have to deal with in my life.
Well, one of them you have a choice not to deal with.
Yeah, one of them I have a choice. The other one I don't. But like in the big picture, the most terrifying thing I think would be just space. If I fall out of a tree, no matter how tall that tree, no matter how tall the building, if I fall out, I'm going to hit. Like, I'm going to hit and it will be done soon.
You're going to hit the ground. You're going to hit it at some point.
In space, if I'm working on a space shuttle and boop, my little clip undoes and I just float away, I'm just floating away and you're not hitting anything.
And you've got all your life support.
You got
so
all
you're
your
just
life
alive
support.
until it all...
Yeah, so it's like drowning, but you can't die. So you're flailing. You can't swim. You're just floating. There's nothing to push against.
Yeah.
You know, you can't like doggy paddle back to the ship. Whatever sent you in your direction, you're going to keep moving in that direction. There's not friction. There's not all that in space, I don't believe. So you're just going to keep floating. And until you die of thirst or your oxygen runs out, you know, whatever, in 12 hours, you're floating for 12 hours.
Bet you don't feel like singing "Oh Happy Day" anymore, do
Oh,
you?
man. Like, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
You know, because, again, it's one of those moments that you're just like, if you fall, out of a window or something like that, it's like, boop, and then you're done.
Yeah.
Like, but in space, you're floating away from the ship, and you're like,
And you're in like, pitch blackness.
Yeah, and then you...
Gosh.
And then you breathe again, and then you realize, like, okay, the screaming's really not doing anything. I'm just floating. Like, at this, just... Oh, my gosh, that'd be terrifying.
That would be horrible.
Terrifying.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. So, kind of in the same, well, not the same topic, but sticking to movies, we actually had a listener question.
Okay.
Joe Zaragoza, he's talked to us before. He's been on this show before. He had a question. He wanted to know if either of us have ever used MoviePass and whether we think it'll be around for much longer. And are you aware of what MoviePass is?
Yeah, I was aware of MoviePass. When it came out, I had heard about it. A friend of mine got it, told me to get it. But when he told me to get it was about the time that, like, the system had crashed.
Okay.
And so, like, it wasn't working. You couldn't sign up for it. Then it was all this stuff about how it wasn't working. And then the next thing I know, it's like they're going to cut it to where you can't see unlimited. You can see, you know, a movie a month or, you know, whatever it was. And then, like, once it started getting cut, I was like, you know what, it just sounds like that's a problem.
Yeah.
So I never did it.
See, now I got MoviePass, I think in January or February. So I've had it most of the year.
Okay.
And I signed on as soon as it dropped down to $10. It used to be like $50, $60 per month.
Okay.
And I think that's where their problem started is when you're selling unlimited movies at $50 or $60 a month, you don't really have a lot of people subscribe.
Right.
So if they're paying $60, but on average they're seeing 3 or 4 movies a month, they're still making some money off you.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, $10, everyone signs up and suddenly everyone's going to the movies. I had to think there was some flaw in their business.
Right.
Like, I never figured out how they were going to make money off that.
Yeah, it was bizarre to me as well.
But I used it. Like, I used it a lot. I mean, probably up until this May, or no, even longer. I think Ant-Man was the first one where it stopped working for me. Every movie I saw was a MoviePass, and I liked it. You know, I don't go more than 2 or 3 times a month most of the time, so I probably wasn't overloading the system or anything, but I liked it. It worked at every theater around my house. The only bummer was you couldn't pre-order tickets, so you had to get to the movie theater and get your ticket right away. Uh-huh. And that was, you know, if you were going to see a first-run movie on opening weekend, that can be kind of nerve-wracking. But I never really ran into many problems with that. A few weeks ago, though, I went to go see Ant-Man with my son, and it was telling me when I'm using the app, because you have to check in at this app, and it's telling me, oh, you have to be within 100 feet of the theater. I was in the lobby. Like, and I don't know if it was, like, that wasn't when the system crashed, but I don't know if the app was screwing up or my phone was sending out a bad signal or something. But I could not get my ticket for MoviePass. So I just kind of chalked it up, all right, well, whatever. Well, then the system crashed a few weeks ago, and no one could see any movies on it. And then they went back, and it came out, like, they were sending these messages out saying, oh, you know what's happening? We're having some problems with the credit card readers at these movie theaters. Well, no, it was because MoviePass shut down because they were out of money, and they needed a loan of $5 million. It came out the next day. Then it went down, like, I think 2 or 3 days later, and that's when they started announcing all these changes. So, for instance, now you can go, when you could go to a movie, there might be surge pricing, which is like when you do an Uber, certain times are going to cost you a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I guess I could understand that in theory, except, first off, they're charging, like, surge pricing of like $4, which is half of what I'm paying. So that's kind of silly. Second, every time I did surge pricing for a movie, I'd pay the extra amount. It would tell me it's surge pricing because there's high demand for this movie at this theater at this time. I'd go in, the theater would be half full.
Right.
Like I don't know if their algorithm was wrong or what, but every time there would be no one in the theater. So I'm like, well, that's kind of silly. Then they started asking you, okay, after you go see a movie, you have to take a picture of your ticket. And then you have to email it to us or send it in on the app so we can see you went to see it. I'm like, can't the theater just tell you I swiped the card?
Right.
And I guess they want to make sure I wasn't letting someone else use the card. And I don't know, because you still had to have your phone. So I didn't understand that. Then they started taking away, if I wanted to go see, for instance, we went to go see Mission Impossible opening weekend. So I pull up my MoviePass. I'm like, all right, well, what time is it at? Every screening of Mission Impossible. Can't use it. Not available on this one. And usually, like 3D and IMAX, you can't use your MoviePass. But a regular 2D showing, you could. Well, even those were blocked out. So then MoviePass comes out and says, oh, yeah, by the way, we're going to start limiting, what movies you can see that their opening weekend. So I'm kind of starting to think, oh, is this really worth it?
No. Like for me, I just go to the theater right by my house here, and it's like, I think before noon, it's like $4.75, and on my days off, that's when I go to movies.
Yeah.
I go in the morning. I'll go to like a 10:30 in the morning movie. It's like $4.75. So, I mean, I can see 2 or 3 movies a month for under $15.
Yeah.
So I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, and I will say they did come out with a fix, I think, by the time this airs, it'll be about a week ago. And honestly, by the time this airs, MoviePass could be out of business, the way they're going, so who knows. But they did come out with a change that they're keeping it $10 a month, no more surge pricing, but you're limited to 3 movies a month. And I think then I'm like, okay, well, I don't go see more than 2 or 3 movies. Now you're still limited on what you can see sometimes.
No, it's still great. It's still great even if they say you're limited to 3, because if you're a evening moviegoer,
yeah, you're still saving money.
You're saving a ton of money, because I think pricing is like, it's right around like $9.50 or $10 or something like that to go see a movie. So one movie you've paid for it, so you're basically buying a ticket, getting 2 free.
Yeah.
So you can't go wrong with that. I mean, that's still good. So if they're still making money by limiting you to 3 a month, I don't think I see more than 3 movies a month.
No, and I think if Joe asks, if they're going to go out of business. And I would have maybe a week ago said, yeah, sure, they're going to go out of business. But I think now with this, they might stem the flow a bit, because I don't think most people see more than 3 movies a month.
Yeah.
I think when I was younger and I was like really kind of movie obsessed, I would see, 8 or 9 a month. And then when I was reviewing movies and I didn't have to pay for them, I could see upwards of 10 a month. But now that I pay for my movies and I have kids and I don't have time,
right.
I don't go. I'm probably one of the bigger movie fans, and I don't go see more than 2 or 3.
And isn't it like if you live in Chicago, New York, LA? I mean, it's like $15 to see a movie,
yeah.
$18 to see a movie. If you go on a Friday night, 8 o'clock movie, opening weekend, you might be paying $18 for a ticket.
Yeah.
So in that sense, like if MoviePass is even working for those people at $10 a month, and you could see 3 movies, I mean, it's still a steal. But like for me, it just wouldn't. It wouldn't.
No.
Do anything.
You're paying
for
$5 a movie. No.
Yeah.
The only thing I have considered is maybe doing. AMC has a program now, and that's $20 a month. But you can get into IMAX movies with it, 3D movies with it. I think you can see up to 3 movies a week. And I'm like, well, that might be a good deal, but then I'd have to go to an AMC all the time. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of times I like to go to Laurel Park Place because they have the recliners, or the showtimes are more convenient at another theater. So
I like MJR.
MJR is nice, except I just don't have one by my house.
Yeah, I like MJR. I don't like the theaters with the big recliners because I think, who was there before me? Like, I mean, it's not like a hotel staff. Like, they don't come in and they don't, like, bleach wipe down like where your headrest was.
Are you worried people are having like illicit activities in the theater?
I'm just thinking like, I don't like the fact that I'm sitting on a leather recliner that I don't know who was on that prior to me. I don't know what's on their skin. I don't know if they've bathed. I don't know if they have psoriasis. I don't know hardcore dandruff. I don't know what is going on, you know? And when you're sitting in a chair, like, I'm not talking like the old school movie seats, like the ones now that are nice and big and comfy, and then like the armrest can go up. If I'm sitting there, I've thought about that. Like, I've thought this through, that when I sit there and I watch a movie, there's nothing of my bare skin that touches the movie theater seat. Like, I have no bare skin touching it. So if I'm wearing like pants, like, you know, I'm wearing jeans, I go in and I watch a movie, I sit down. A lot of times, my normal body, when I rest, I fold my arms over my chest, kind of put my hands under my armpits type deal. And that's like a comfortable position for me. I don't use the armrests. I don't use those things. So a lot of times I just sit in a chair and like nothing touches. If I am wearing shorts or something like that, and I'm like, okay, like a normal chair still isn't that crazy. When I sit in a recliner that's been in a movie theater, I just think, like, I look at the people who, you know, are in the movie theater, the clientele, and I just think, like, if I...
Oh, I'm sorry that we don't all have your pristine golden skin, Joe.
You know, that's the way it is, but I wouldn't expect somebody else to want to come in and sit on a recliner after I was sitting there sweating on it. It's a leather sofa or a leather chair, so like you're gonna get sweat, like it's gonna be that whatever, and they don't come in there and like wipe them down.
I'm a little disturbed by how much thought you've put into this.
Oh, I have. That's why I don't go to them. Like, my dad wanted to see some movie, and he's like, "Hey, I bought us tickets. I got us the recliners," and I'm like,
"Oh yeah, Dad, do you want me to get AIDS?"
Yeah, I'm like, "Dude, you did me a disservice." So then we go and we watch it, and after we're talking, he's like, "Why don't you like the recliners?" And I gave him the same thing. He doesn't want to be in recliners anymore now. I'm like, I just think it's gross. Like, I just think it's gross. You're just, like, when I go to somebody's house and they have a recliner, that's not the thing that I'm going to. Now, mind you, if they have like a you know, like the recliner that I have here isn't leather, so I guess crap can soak into it. I don't know. When it's leather, it just doesn't seem like things soak into it.
Okay, but what about in the winter? Like, people are going to be wearing sweatshirts and jeans. So no bare skin's going to be touching
so that doesn't bother me as much.
So you can go to the recliner theaters in the winter.
I wouldn't, just out of principle. But I completely accept that argument. So like in the winter, yeah, if people are going in there, they're wearing jeans, they got sweatshirts on or their coats, and they're watching the movie, I guess I could do that. You know, I guess I could do that. But as soon as the weather starts to turn and people are wearing less clothing, there's bare... You know, there's bare limbs and backs and necks and shoulders, and then people, like, you recline and then you just lay your head on there, like on a plane. You know, it's kind of the same thing, like on an airplane. Like, I want a pillow of mine. I want something that's behind me, that it's not like this chair has just had 100 heads on it.
Oh, this is great.
It's gross. It's gross to me.
It's funny you bring that up. Like, I have never once thought about the people who sat on the recliner. Candidly, I'm probably still not going to think about the people who sat on the recliner before me. But if I get sick, I guess I'll say, I should listen to Joe.
The reason I didn't like go into it, like when a theaters first started having recliners, I was like, oh, awesome, this is going to be so comfortable. And now that I'm thinking about it, it wasn't until I went to the one with my dad. So he bought the tickets, and then while we're there, like we're reclined, and the people around us that were in there, I was like, ugh, like the next person, like there's popcorn butter. They got popcorn all over their hands. They're wiping it on the recliners. I'm just like, that's disgusting. And so then when I left there, I told my dad, I was just like, oh, I don't think I could do a recliner again. Did you see so-and-so who was sitting there and blah, blah, blah? And he was like, yeah, that's kind of gross. And then life goes on, and he told me about how him and my stepmom, they went and saw, another movie, and they loved those recliners. And I was just like, Dad, I can't be in those recliners anymore.
Hey, son.
Yeah.
After what me and your mom did in that recliner, right. I understand.
Right, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was just, I don't think like movies should be like a living room. Like, I don't think you should just be able to take off your shoes and get comfy. You're still in a place of business. Or have it like the grocery store where there's a stack of bleach wipes.
I was just wondering, are you going to be coming in with Clorox wipes?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean, I just think it's gross.
We've really opened a can of worms here. Wow. And I've never once thought about that. Now, what I did have once is years ago, I remember the movie. It was The Mummy 2, which I paid to see, so maybe I deserve this. Went opening night with my friends because we really wanted to see The Mummy 2.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting down in my seat, and I get up to do something, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm sticking to my seat. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Someone had taken gum out of their mouth and just plopped it right on the seat. So now I have like gum on my butt, and I didn't know what to do. So I just kind of, the theater was packed. I'm in the middle of it, so I'm like, I guess I just got to sit here for the rest of the movie with this gum on. So the worst part is, I go down afterwards to complain to the usher because they should have cleaned that up. And I tell the usher, I'm like, hey, there was gum on my seat, and now it's on me. Let me see. I'm like, it's on my butt. Well, let me see the gum. I'm like, I'm not going to show you my butt, man. Let me see. So at this point, I just want a free ticket anyway. So I pull up the back of my shirt and turn around. Show again. I didn't see it. Can I see it again?
Oh, you got some creep.
I know. I don't even think I got a free ticket out of that. Oh. I think he just said, I'm sorry. And I'm like, yeah, no, you're not sorry. You got a free show, man.
Oh, yeah, you did.
So that's the only thing I've had at the theater. Wow.
Yeah.
That went in direction.
That definitely went in a direction there.
So, okay, but I guess, and we'll just throw out any idea of anything edifying coming out of this today. Talk about that, though. I mean, one of the reasons MoviePass comes up is because people don't like going to the movie theater anymore. Like, do you prefer to watch a movie at home or in the movie theater?
It depends on the movie. Like, I don't know if it was on this podcast or the last one that I said one of the movie series that I like is the Hotel Transylvania.
Yeah.
Like, I think those are funny animated movies. You don't need to see those on big screen.
Right.
You can watch that on your TV and still get the same thing. Now, a movie that I'm excited that's going to come out, I know it's going to be horrible, but I can't wait to see it, is Megalodon, The Meg.
The Meg.
Now, that's going to be amazing to see on the big screen. Yeah. So there are certain movies I would have loved to have seen Saving Private Ryan on a big screen.
It was pretty amazing to see on a big screen. Yeah,
so I've not. That's one that I would love, and so there's just certain movies that just play better. I think the Star Wars movies, because of just the vastness of space and with all the spaceships and stuff, it's really cool to see it on the big screen. And then you come home and then you still get the DVD or you get the whatever. But there's just certain movies, that, Back to the Future doesn't need to be on a big screen. Goonies doesn't need to be on a big screen. But certain ones do. So I kind of pick and choose,
See, now I will say I always prefer to go see a movie on the big screen. Just as a movie nerd, I love being in the theater. I love that simple act, just being in the theater with other people watching a movie.
See, I don't. I like being in the theater without other people.
See, I love it because I can focus. Like, when I'm at home, I have horrible ADD. Not official, but...
But that doesn't happen to you in a movie theater? Because that's me. When I'm in a movie theater, I'm seeing their phone go off. I see this guy...
Oh, I'll get to that.
I see this guy, like, trying to look at his phone in his coat. I see this person continue to get... And so, every time... And it may be because I'm a police officer, but every time I see somebody get up and move, somebody do this, somebody do... Like, my eyes are darting towards them. I'm looking to see what they're doing, you know? And I'm always, like, on pins and needles.
Oh, yeah, I will get to that. I prefer, like... Seeing a movie in a theater because at home my mind wanders and I will check my phone and stuff like that. Whereas in a theater I won't. Everything's on the screen. I'm watching it. I'm sucked in. It's great. But yeah, I was getting that. I hate going to the movie theater sometimes. For that very reason, I hate that people have never figured out turn your phone off when you go into a movie.
Right.
Like that drives me. Even I would go to critic screenings and people would have their phones open. And like I don't know if they don't. Like, if it's just, I'm going to be, a selfish jackass, or they don't realize, hey, everyone in the theater can see this white light that's shining, or the one that, when people talk in movies.
Right.
Like, when they answer the phone. Like, that's crazy. Talking in movies, period, just pisses me off. Like, that's one of the things that will, like, I am a non-confrontational person, but I have gotten in confrontations about people talking in the movies before, because it pisses me off.
Yeah. I was at Solo and watching Solo, and this mother had like brought her son, and it was probably the second time that they had seen the movie. Mm-hmm. There were 3 parts in the movie where the little kid was so excited for what was going to happen that he's like, "Here comes Chewbacca," and you're like, "You little piece of crap!" Like. So he says this, and I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden, there's Chewbacca. And you're like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
So this like little kid was doing spoilers 10 seconds before they were happening. I wanted to put a bullet in the back of the kid's head.
Okay, that's probably not tasteful. But I win. And you're a big guy, so if you shush people, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I can't, I'm not, I'm a small weakling guy. But... I went to a movie, this was years ago, this is probably 10 years ago. I went to go see one of the Harry Potter movies with a friend. And I go down, sit down, packed house, and this girl was just talking to the screen. Like, both talking to the screen, but also talking on her phone the whole time. And, like, telling her friend, like, yeah, no, I'm in a movie. It's okay, I'm just in a movie right now. I'm just in a movie. It's okay. Just tell me what you need to tell me. And I'm like, shh. And then she's, like, watching the screen. Oh, Harry, why'd you do that to Ron? Ron's your boy. Why'd you do that? I'm like, stop it. So finally she does it again, and I wasn't even forceful. I'm just like, shh. Just kind of that little petty white shh.
You're right.
The problem I had, I was white. She was not. And I did not shush her because she was black.
Right.
But she turned it into that because the next words out of her mouth were, "Don't shush me. I bet you wish this was slave times and you could shush me."
Lord.
And I didn't know what to do at that point. I just like, say what you want to say, I guess. I'm just
see, that crap doesn't fly with me. Like, the issue is, if I'm with my kids, I'm on my best behavior because I don't want to embarrass them or make them feel uncomfortable, because my dad didn't take crap from anybody. And growing up, I was in a lot of situations where my dad would like do something and it would just ruin, like you'd be embarrassed or now you're like on edge, like is something going to happen? And then it wasn't fun anymore. And so I know I've done that with my kids, but I've always done it in a protecting manner. Like something was done to, or our space was invaded or something. And so I kind of, push back and I'll say stuff. Well, now it's uncomfortable, but I didn't start it, and I was protecting us or whatever the case may be. But if I'm not with my kids, like I've told people, like I've done this once. I told somebody who's sitting about 2 rows in front of me, I was like, if you're not going to put your phone away, I'm going to take it and chuck it across the theater. And then the phone went away like real quick.
Did they look back and like,
yeah, they did. They like looked back like who the, and I'm like standing there and, you know, and they see my big bald, you know, ugly face and stature. And they're just like, I don't feel like dealing with this, you know? And then another time, one time I was walking into a theater and they're like, yeah, it's the theater, you know, whatever, say theater 6. So I go down, and as I'm walking towards the door, there's a guy sitting on a bench near the door, not next to the opening, but near it. So he's on a bench. He's probably 8 to 10 feet from the door. So me and my buddy who are going to see the movie, we start to walk in, and we see that there's a, they put like a little sign up that said, you know, stop, we're cleaning the theater. So we stop there and we're standing there and he goes, the line's behind me. And I go, are you talking to us? What'd you say? He's like, I'm first in line. And I go, okay, then come stand in line. And he's like, I don't have to. I'm just telling you I'm first in line. And so at this point, because he's kind of been a jerk to me, I'm like, no, it's apparent that I'm first in line. So he gets up and walks over, and now he's standing in front of me. So I'm like,
oh, you cut.
No. So I go, well, that's better. Now you're first in line. So about 5 minutes goes by, and his teenage son, the kid's probably 16, 17 years old, comes, walks right up, stands next to his dad, and I go, oh no. I go, your dad said there's a line. You need to go to the end of it. So the kid's like, and I go, there's a line. And so the guy, so at this point, the dude's like, crap, what do I do? Because I'm 6'5", my buddy's 6'5". We're both these huge guys, and they were just like, oh, I didn't want it to get to this. So within 30 seconds, the people come out of the theater, and they move the sign like it's time to go in. So the dude moved to the side and like did the like big sweeping arm like he was a butler. Like he was like, he goes, after you. Oh, like that. And I go, thank you. And I just like walked right in. And then so we go and we sit down. Me and my buddy, we get, you know, halfway up right in the middle. That guy and his son walked into the theater. They weren't trying to avoid us. They like didn't even look to see where we were sitting. They sat very middle, first row. The entire theater
no one
was
is
open.
going to sit in that seat.
There was maybe 30 people in this movie theater, and they sat dead. We were the first 4 people in there, and they sat dead center, first row. And I was just like,
I don't know where they're sitting. I just don't want to make a scene, son. I don't want to make a scene.
Exactly. But I've gotten to that point now. I just don't care. If I'm by myself or with friends, I'm like, I'll be that guy. I'll just say stuff I don't care. If I'm with my kids, I got to dial it down. And the thing is, usually if I'm with my kids, I'm at a kid's movie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to go to Incredibles and be like, hey, kid, stop kicking my seat.
Oh, I would. You're ruining the cinematic experience for us all, kid.
So it's like, I look behind, I see like a little 4-year-old girl, and she's all happy to be watching you Incredibles, and she's kicking the back of my seat. I deal with it, because that's the movie that I'm at. Mm-hmm. You know? But if I'm at Departed, and a 4-year-old girl is kicking the back of my seat.
What's a 4-year-old girl doing in The Departed?
Exactly. So what are you doing here? Stop kicking my seat, you know, or...
See that on the screen? You.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Dad, the next time she kicks my seat, I'm kicking you in the teeth.
You know what's crazy is when they would do press screenings, they would often do them with, like, you know how you call into the radio show and they'll give out 2 or 3 free tickets? So the critics go to those same screenings. So there's usually a row like roped off for critics, and then the rest of the audience gets to come in and sit wherever. So I went to a ton of these over like the last 10 years. And I remember there was a screening of, it was the Friday the 13th remake. This lady comes in, toddler in her arms, to sit and watch Friday the 13th. Oh. And none of us said anything. We're just kind of all like trading looks, like, what the heck? Well, the kid decides to start crying during the movie. I guess because he's 2 and he's watching Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
He's crying and screaming. The lady does not get up. The lady does not get up. Finally, one of the critics in our row gets up, turns around. All he says is, "You are a terrible parent." and then sits back down. And she left.
I remember reading an article, mind you, you know, the Insane Clown Posse?
Oh, yeah.
So I remember reading an article where they were interviewing the two guys from ICP, Violent J and Shaggy Two Dope. And Violent J said that he was in Los Angeles and he was watching Saw. And here he is, a horrorcore rapper. He was watching the first Saw, and he said a mom, like either a mom and dad, came in with their kids who were like toddler age to watch Saw. And he said he went off on him. He was, you know, yelling and screaming. And here he's
Was he in his clown makeup at the time?
Hopefully. And here's a guy who peddles horrorcore and gore and violence to teenagers. And he, you know, he was even appalled that these parents would bring in, you know, I think he said it was like an 8-year-old girl, something like that. You know, to see Saw, it was just like, you know, get your blankety blank and, you know, blank out of here, or I'm going to beat it. And they got their kids and they let, you know, he had to threaten this family, you know, to get him to take the kids out of the theater.
Well, you know what's crazy? My son, he's 6, and as we've discussed before, he has a foul mouth. But
Right.
but no, he'll bring up to me all the time stuff that kids his age know about that I'm like, why do you know that? Like, we were talking about something. I think my wife and I were just talking about, oh yeah, that's kind of a funny movie, but it's a little violent. He's like, are you talking about Deadpool? Like, why do you know what Deadpool is?
Yeah, because his buddy's brother told him about it.
Or what's their new thing they left? Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
Like, he's into that. Or kids at school know... There's all these games. Like, he'll go to his friend's house and his buddy's like 5 years old. And they're playing Call of Duty, Fortnite, all these shoot-'em-up games.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? Are there, like, no filters? That would not have flown in my house.
No,
like,
not
I was
at all.
13, and I'm bringing this around to something. So we don't waste our listeners' time. We can get to something a little edifying. But, like, when I was 13, Mortal Kombat came out for Sega Genesis.
Oh, yeah.
And I was 13, and I was not allowed to play that game.
Yeah.
And I was still, like, do you remember what the first R-rated movie you saw in theaters was?
In theaters?
Uh-huh.
No. The first R-rated movie I ever saw was Young Guns.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was doing the math on that. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that would fit.
Yeah. Young Guns was the first rated R movie I ever saw, but I can't remember what the first rated R movie I ever went to was.
Okay. I think the first rated R movie I ever saw was Blues Brothers. Because my dad and I would watch it on TV all the time.
Okay.
And then we went to Blockbuster, and I saw it there. I'm like, Dad, can I rent this? And he had no idea what it was rated. And he's just like, yeah, go ahead. And everything
I didn't know it was rated R.
Yeah, because there's the part where they go to see the penguin, and she's slapping their desks with the ruler, and they're just swearing up a storm in that scene.
Oh.
It's really the only scene with much language in that. But my mom was in the next room while we're watching it, and she's like, what are you watching? I think in theaters, though, I was like 15 before I saw an R-rated movie in theaters. I think my dad took me to see... Gosh, it was the summer when Braveheart, Crimson Tide, and Die Hard with a Vengeance came out. So within like a month, we went to see all three of those. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of like my initiation in, okay, it's okay to see R-rated movies. But like, your daughters are teenagers now, right?
Yeah.
So have you had to kind of navigate that yet about R-rated movies? Or like, how do you make a decision about what they can see?
We just had a talk, like just Sunday. Mm-hmm. We just had a talk about it where... You know, I just told them, because they were asking if they could see a certain movie or whatever, because they're getting to the age where they like the rush of being scared, like a scary movie. Mm-hmm. And so it's tough finding scary movies that aren't R.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it is. It's just tough finding movies that are scary that aren't
Poltergeist, R. PG.
Is it?
It is.
And so, oh, maybe we'll have to watch that. And, so anyway, we were just having this talk, and I just told him, I said, it's tough I said, when I was your age, I would sneak out and I would watch this stuff, you know, and probably behind my parents' back. I was watching stuff that they didn't. The first one I remember was Ghostbusters. My mom didn't want us seeing Ghostbusters. I wanted to see it so bad, I went down to my friend Bill's house and watched it down there. You know, so that was like the first movie that I remember her saying, I don't want you seeing it. But I wanted to see it so bad because everyone was talking about it that I saw it down there. when it came out on like VHS. And I just remember knowing that I saw it and I felt so bad, but I'm glad that I saw the movie. Now, so I was talking to the girls about that, and I'm just like, here's the deal. I said, it's just, when you're a kid, you want nothing more than to be older, and you want to get into that next phase of life. I said, but then you become an adult, and you have kids, and you want to be able to protect the kids.
Right.
And I said, so now I have you guys, and I want nothing more than for you guys to have your innocence as long as you can. I said, you have the rest of your life to be an adult. If you guys want to, as you grow up, you're going to learn what language is appropriate when. You're going to make the choice whether you want to have a foul mouth or you want to have, a respectable mouth. All these different things. And I said, what you put in your brain, you can't ever not see anymore. You can't take that stuff out. And I said, so as long as I possibly can as a parent, help be another filter as to what you're putting in your brain, what you're putting in your body, I'm going to do that whether you like it or not. And so they were like, no, we totally understand. And so they didn't have an issue with it. But again, they like to see stuff like, I know Ella went and saw, what was the movie that came out this year, like In the Dark or Darkness or Dark. It was like a horror movie where everyone's in the dark, and if they made a sound, like
Lights Out.
Lights Out.
I think that was PG-13.
Was it? So like that was her first like movie that she went to, kind of like without parents. She went with friends, and it was like a scary movie.
Yeah.
So she kind of got hooked on it. Now, mind you, the other night we watched one of my favorite scary movies, but it's not scary. It's more suspenseful.
The Strangers.
No, I keep joking with them that we're going to watch that. But Frailty.
Oh, yeah, we've talked about that, yeah.
When it came up, they saw that it was R, and they're like, Dad, this is R. And I'm like, I know, it has these 3 swear words in it. And I said, there's no nudity. There's no violence in the sense that you don't see anything. Like, it'll be a guy, like, swinging an axe, and then it changes. Yeah. Like, you never see anything, any gore. And so, we watched Frailty, and then after, because of what Frailty deals with, after, we were able to actually have, like, a good, like, biblical conversation on
sometimes God is going to ask you to kill demons.
Exactly.
They look like other people.
Right? They're not really people, even though they're bleeding and their heart just came through their throat. They're demons.
Yeah, I think that's a cool approach, because my parents just did the blanket. If it's R, no. If it's PG-13, probably okay. And that probably meant there were R-rated movies where I would have been okay, and maybe it would have even been good for me to see them. And PG-13 movies I know I should not have seen. So it's so weird. Like, movies, I feel like, hopefully, I'll be better than my parents on this. Because my son's 6, but I know him a little bit. I can understand the context of movies a little bit better than my parents could.
Yeah.
Like, I can read movies and read my son and know what he can handle. So, there's PG-13 movies at 16 he's already seen. Like, I took him to see Ant-Man and the Wasp, because I knew there was nothing in Ant-Man and the Wasp that would be too bad for him. Even the language goes over his head.
Right.
So I thought.
So you thought. He sounds like Andrew Dice Clay.
But I won't let him see. There's no way he's going to see Infinity War yet. And there's no way he's going to see Black Panther yet, because those are a little too much for him. A few weeks ago, I did sit him down and we watched Jurassic Park. Because I kind of get a gauge for what scares him. He loved it. He thought it was hilarious, which is kind of scary. But yeah, like, I'm really hoping that, like, my parents were very much just blanket. R-rated, no.
Right.
And I'm hoping that I can say when he's 13, well, you know what? Maybe you are ready for Saving Private Ryan, because this is a good lesson for you to learn. Like, you need to see what, like, because he expresses interest in war and guns and stuff like that. I think just to piss me off. But like, he loves the whole idea of war and stuff. And there's going to come a day where I'm going to have to show him Saving Private Ryan and go, people who go to war, they're doing a very brave and noble thing. I just want to show you what that really looks like.
Yeah.
And then there's these PG-13 movies where, it's just people going out and shooting up a place, but there's no blood. So it's PG-13. And I'm like, I don't know if I want you to see, a Transformers movie, because the jokes are so off color in that.
Right.
The way it frames women is really over-sexualized, and I know what that's going to do to your head and things like that. Video games are the ones where I'm like, I have no clue. You know, I feel like that's where I worry the most. I'll be like, it's rated M, you can't do it. Because I have no idea what's in a video game half the time. Like, I'm shocked playing this Star Wars game he has, Battlefront. Like, we got it from thinking, oh, it's Star Wars. You know, it's going to be fine. It's pretty violent. It's, you know, first-person shooter, and I don't know that his brain understands what that is yet. And
you can get into a lot of stuff. I'll try and make it brief and not make it a huge rabbit hole that we go down. But that is one thing for some training that I was in was... the speaker giving a lesson was saying that, like, humans, the normal human just doesn't kill. Like, we look at them as psychopaths or killers. The human condition has to be set through boot camp. You have to be trained to be able to kill another human. Like, nobody just wakes up one day and is like, hey, I want to be a ranger. I want to be an army, you know, whatever. Put me in this country and I'm just going to go kill all these people. Like, you have to be trained to kill somebody. And then when you're done killing somebody, there needs to be outlets and you have to talk to people. I mean, it's a huge thing. It's not just this cavalier thing that we see in movies. And what was talked about that I thought was interesting, and I don't know what side of the fence I lie on it, but it's definitely something as far as digging more into, is he was saying, like, you know, it takes... you know, Army Rangers and Navy SEALs and all these people training, and they do simulators and they do all this stuff. And they log, you know, 100 hours a year on these simulators. Well, what do teenagers do every day? They log 12 hours a day. Sometimes on the weekends, they'll log 30 hours of a simulator of killing. Fortnite, Call of Duty, Battlefield, you know, Grand Theft Auto. What they're doing, what they don't realize that they're doing, is a simulator for killing, which is the same thing that the U.S. government or in that foreign governments do to train their soldiers to be able to kill, because we're not born just like, hey, let's kill. We're born knowing that that's not right. It's not right to take the life of somebody else. And people that do just take the life of somebody else, we call them criminals and we say that they're messed up in the head because they were able to do it. But yet every single day our teenagers and our 20-year-olds and whatever, all of us that play video games are training on ourselves on killing simulators.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's an interesting topic. Now, mind you, I've grown up playing violent video games, and I don't want to go out and, like, kill people. I'm not going to go to my like a school. I never wanted to do that, but I played those games growing up. So it is a thing that I don't know where the truth lies in there and what it actually is, but
yeah, I don't think, pardon the pun, I don't think there's like a silver bullet for that. I think it's more like silver buckshot. Like, there's a ton of there's a lot of factors that go into it. Like, I grew up thinking, like, because, you know, I grew up the same way watching violent movies. I love Die Hard. Oddly enough, I hate guns, but I love movies where people use guns. And I've been fine. I haven't shot up a school. I haven't ever, you know, I have an aversion to guns in real life. But then I also think, well, okay, in a movie, shooting is kind of linked to context, right? So if someone's killed in a movie, maybe there's some remorse, or, you know, it's the only way to save so-and-so. In a video game, I'm watching my son. He's racking up points on this Star Wars game. I'm like, you're being rewarded for killing people.
Right.
And there's no, like, he doesn't pay attention to the story of a video game. He just knows he goes out there and does this thing.
Right.
So, like, there's no context. It's really weird. I mean, I do think, too, though, like, a lot of people do play video games, and they're not, you know, they don't turn into killers.
Yeah.
So I think there's probably a lot of psychological factors and things.
Yeah,
so.
definitely.
But yeah, it's weird. We ended up somewhere where we actually talked about something serious.
We did.
So that was good. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. We will be back, I hope, next week. And we will see you then. Thanks for listening.
All right, see you.